Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now I don't know where to start today's video, so do you know what? We're just going to get stuck straight in. On the screen in front of you, you can see split screen. On the left hand side, we have a brand new character, Male Warlock, on the PTR for patch 7.3.5, where the new level scaling system has been brought in, whereas the zones will scale to your level, allowing you to stay in them for longer and theoretically completing quest lines and storylines and such, as opposed to on the right hand side, which is another character from scratch, Male Warlock, but obviously being the live servers, you're very much dependent on your level as determining where you go. So when you hit level 10, for example, it's going to tell you to bugger off to Westfall. Whereas on the left-hand side on the PTR, it doesn't matter. It can tell me to go to Westfall, but I can still stay in Elwyn Forest and continue to finish off the quest lines because it should, in theory, be scaling alongside of me. Also, both characters are wearing identical gear. They're identical heirloom items. Not all of the heirlooms could copy over to the PTR, so on the live servers, I matched what the PTR could wear. So both characters are wearing the weapon and the haste trinket, and on top of that, for experience, they're wearing the head, shoulders, chest, back, and legs, giving each character a boost of 45% experience each. Not using any boost potions. I wouldn't even contemplate using a boost potion if I was starting a character from scratch. In my eyes, it would be an utter waste of time. I like to use them either later on or if I'm really starting to feel the grind and I want to get out of somewhere pretty damn quickly. So that's what both characters have. You'll also notice at the top of each, there is a stopwatch. So is this a race? No, not really. What I wanted to do to start off with is give both characters an hour to level up. And after that hour, I wanted to see where each respective character was. In the same breath, I also wanted the characters to level in a very similar pace, you know? So on the left-hand side, I would level as best possible, you know, not too fast, not too slow, but I would level up as best possible that the server would allow me to. So if things were, you know, if I pulled 2 mobs and that was fine, if I pulled 3 and it got a little bit hard and I could die, I'd probably stick to 2. On the right-hand side, you know, I'll pull what I can. You know, within my limits, and again, if it's too difficult, I'd stop. So I'm leveling at the same pace for each. And also, I'm doing the quests. I'm not doing any power leveling where you go down to certain areas and you just mob grind. I think that's inane crap. I really hate that sort of thing. If I'm going to do any leveling, I need to have some quests. I need to be, you know, at least interested or invested in some storylines. And again, theoretically, on the PTR for 7.3.5, with the level scaling, I may see some new stories which I haven't seen before, or which I haven't done for a very long time because the heirlooms have allowed me to like push through to other zones really quickly indeed. So with all of that said, and I really had to get all that information laid out so you knew exactly where we were, I am already massively surprised at how the characters, after about 4 minutes or so, are in completely different positions. Completely different positions. So how are things working as regards to power and experience on the PTR versus the live servers? So let's go right back to the beginning. First quest, this time on the live servers, and we're full screen so you can see the big picture. I hit that creature down, 2 hits for 43 damage per hit. Again, 43 per hit on the other warg, and this warg again. So I'm doing a consistent non-crit damage of 43 to these wargs. Experience goes up to 72 EXP. It depends whether or not the creature's been hit by an NPC or maybe another player. And the wargs have a health pool of 80. So let's flip over to the PTR for 7.3.5. Gonna fire on a warg now, and I do 25 damage, 26, 25. 3 hits to get that walk down. It had already taken damage. This time 25, 25, 25. 4 hits. So we've got a consistent 25, 26 non-crit damage versus 43 on the live servers. Experience levels are the same, up to 72 experience depending on what has actually hit the mob. And the health pool of the mobs are 87. So up approximately 9% on what they are on the live servers. But considerable difference on the very first mobs that we face. Now, I'm not trying to freak anyone out by this. For goodness sake, it's the first couple of levels of leveling. All I'm trying to do is establish that there are some significant changes already between the PTR version of leveling and the live version of leveling. Hell, this video is part 1 because I need to come back and address this. I think this is actually a very interesting series to compare against each other with the two characters, as you'll see what positions they're in after the first hour. And Blizzard themselves took to the forums and asked people to test. Please get on the PTR and test our new leveling system. We want to know, and this is their own words, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know a YouTuber that uses that phrase a fair bit, of gaming, of the leveling up system. And so this is exactly what I'm trying to give them. I'm trying to see whether or not I feel it's good, bad, or ugly, or at least share my points of view on those 3 criteria. I mean, as far as I was aware, when they announced the scaling system, I was okay with it. I thought it was a decent idea. You know, it's not world-breaking stuff. At the end of the day, to me, leveling is leveling. It's not a part of the game anymore. It's not an intrinsic part of the game, I should say. It's just a means to an end. There are too many expansions now for leveling to really mean something. If leveling wants to mean something, then theoretically it should mean something when that expansion comes out. And therefore, leveling up your character when an expansion first comes out, that should be when it's at its most relevant. And then, of course, as the expansion gets on and more endgame content comes out, then we already see in the game Blizzard extend heirloom levels, so you can push your alts forward. They understand that leveling isn't a big deal in the game. However, if you're leveling experience, because there are going to be 120 levels in the game once Battle for Azeroth comes around, they do of course want the experience to be as fun and engaging as possible. And if, like me, you like to level up through doing quests and not mob grinds, I find those, like I said, very mind-numbing, then you want to pick up storylines that you haven't necessarily done before to make it feel that little bit fresher. This is the perfect opportunity on Azeroth because this is where we have so many different zones that people can go to. And then, of course, when you put the level scaling into the expansion packs, it gives you more variety and choice about the zone that you want to visit. Do you know what? I never actually went to Zul'Farrak and did that leveling because I was smashing through stuff on my with my heirloom items. So this is going to give me the perfect opportunity to do so. So the theory behind level scaling is absolutely great. I think it's a good way to try and freshen things up, to give it a new coat of paint and at least give people potentially different experiences if they want to push characters forward. However, if you're going to nerf the character in the process and therefore make the experience even longer than it is now, we have a completely different set of questions to ask. Is that right, for a start? I mean, if Blizzard kept the power exactly the same as we have it now, and then scaled from there, then, you know, your experience shouldn't be modified that much. You should just be able to go through the various storylines, picking your various zones to go into. But if they've nerfed the damages, if they've increased the health pools, and that's how the scaling is going to operate, then just by that very definition, you're going to level up slower than you do on live. And does slower necessarily mean a better experience? Does being able to go through more of a routine with your spells, like, oh, I can cast Corruption, Agony, and Shadow Bolt, instead of just doing a singular dot and running off and waiting for the mob to die, does that therefore make a better experience of gaming if it's going to take you 10, 20 hours longer than it would on live? So these are the questions that we really need to go into. And obviously this video isn't going to answer all of those, but it's going to pose a very interesting quandary when we get to the end. So let's move the footage on to approximately 36 minutes into the experience. Pretty clear to see why I've decided to do this. The character on the live servers has now physically moved into a different zone, into Westfall, whereas the character on the PTR is always going to maintain its position for right now in Elwyn Forest until it's quested itself out and then needs to move elsewhere. Also, they virtually simultaneously leveled up at the same time. But one, the PTR character leveled to 9, whereas the character on the live servers leveled to level 11. Wearing exactly the same equipment, there's now a distinct 2-level variation between the two characters. Now, one of the reasons why is what you saw earlier on, where you saw that my damage was less, my damage output was less on the PTR, and also the health pools were slightly higher. That is one reason. Another reason is just look at the health bar. Below the character on the left-hand side casting. When I'm casting my spells, mana is going down. I mean, it's legitimately going down until I come out of combat, and then it goes up relatively quickly. Whereas on the live servers, health, mana, they're virtually untouched. And that's why I've been allowed to do some bigger pools on the live servers, because I'm in absolutely zero danger of dying, and I'm also in zero danger of going oom. Going oom? When was the last time anyone said going oom in the World of Warcraft? Well, I mean, probably priests, actually. But you know the score. So that's another reason why the progress has been slightly slowed down. So again, going to ask another question here. Has the experience, and we have to take into effect, it's within the first hour of the actual experience. And also, again, this is part 1 of what has to become a series now, because it's very, very intriguing to see where this will lead to. But let's ask the question anyway. Has my experience been enhanced on the PTR version with the nerfing of the damage and the buffing of the health pools, allowing me to give my full rotation currently of 2 spells, as opposed to the live servers where I've smashed through everything and I've actually moved into Westfall because I'm going to get better experience rewards from Westfall and be able to continue my pumping up? Of course it hasn't been enhanced. It would be ludicrous to say so. No, I mean, if you actually stuck a gun to my head right now and said, out of the 2 experiences, which one did you enjoy more? I mean, again, within the first hour of the experience, I would have to say, well, it's the live servers, because on the live servers, you know, I'm just smashing through stuff. To me, leveling is a means to an end. It's no longer that relevant a position within the game. And I think Blizzard also have had that same experience. Now, would a brand new player to the World of Warcraft, do you think, feel any differently? With the fact that they have slowed down the experience of the leveling, do you think they would actually get a better experience by spending 10 levels firing off 2 spells? Not necessarily at all, let's be honest here. So I don't think within this sort of period of the leveling process, you could say that the experience is enhanced by the scaled zones. Now let's move the footage on towards the end of the video. Yes, there's a slight desync when it comes to time, simply because there are a couple of instances throughout the course of the leveling process where I thought it was only fair that I stopped it for a few seconds because something happened to interrupt the process. No major, you know, just a few seconds here or there. And then towards the end of the video, you'll see if the hour ticks over and you're involved in a quest, you can finish the quest and hand it in. You know, this ain't cracking the whip here. We're just trying to get an idea of what's going on. But I want to bring up something that Blizzard themselves said a few years ago. They claimed that 70% of new players don't even make it to level 10. And this is another reason why I've done this video from level 1. Because you have to ask yourself the question, therefore, in the first 10 levels of the new leveling experience on the PTR for patch 7.3.5, has there been anything extra on there which I've said to myself, do you know, I think new players to the game might find this a little bit more interesting. I think new players might find this a little bit more engaging and stick around. Honestly, no, I can't say that. I think that would be a bit daft to say so anyway. You know, the changes haven't been that dramatic whatsoever. Sure, they've slowed down the process a wee bit, so a new player can play with its spells and get very familiar with its spells. But as regards to that statistic, and I don't know how much it bears on today's gameplay, as we've seen the World of Warcraft subscription numbers have changed massively over the course of the last few years. But do I think there's something there to change that? No. I wouldn't say that it is at all. From an existing player's perspective, do I find it better at the start, you know, within the first 10, 15 levels? Again, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, no in as much as I'd much rather, as we'll see at the end of the video, be in the position of the live servers, which is very, very close indeed to level 15, than the PTR, where I've just turned level 12, now bringing the gap to almost 3 levels between the two characters within the first hour of play. However, with that said, I did enjoy on the PTR being able to stick around in Elwynn Forest, and I started to do quests which I hadn't done before, or at least I probably hadn't done since Cataclysm, and those were the ones around the logging camp and going to the east of Elwynn Forest and starting to do those quest chains, which always get pushed to the side because I just bugger off to Westfall if I'm levelling up an old. So in that regard, I enjoyed that aspect of it, but in the other regard, I'd still rather be level 15 than level 12. So I don't understand why we need to slow that process down. But what I will say is maybe it evens itself up later on. This is the very first hour, and like I said, you can't draw massive conclusions from this. This has to be played a lot more, but I do believe the comparison has to happen between live and PTR, because a better experience in as much as you get to see more rotation, you can obviously understand the class a little bit better, and you all that kind of stuff. You can stay in the zone for longer and experience longer storylines. Do I want to take that but have 10 hours added onto my experience, 15 hours added onto my leveling experience, or do I just want to smash through it and have 10, 15 hours knocked off? That's a question that only you can answer on a personal level. Me, I think it's quite clear to me leveling is now just a means to an end, so I would probably take the heartless route and just say, look, just give me the quick route. Give me the quick route, okay? But we could find, as this experiment goes on, that the live experience starts to slow down, and it's actually the PTR scaling experience, because it's maintaining a consistent level, that starts to catch up then. So this is why I think I really do need to push this series further and further and get into it longer and longer. So I think next week we'll have another video. I'll try and push out maybe 4-5 hours each extra on the PTR and the live servers, so we can do another comparable position as to where those two characters are, and then again take it on from there. But early doors, early experiences, nice that you can stick around. Not too keen on the fact I seem to have been slowed down considerably compared to live, but it could all be part of a bigger scaling experience which will even itself out eventually. But yeah, be very interesting to see what you guys and gals think in the comment section down below. And also, I will probably put a straw poll in the description or as a comment, which you can vote on. And I have actually filmed the full hour of both people side by side. And if you just want me to put that up as a no commentary video, so you can actually see the genuine side by side comparison between the two characters, then let me know and I'll just pop it up for anyone that's interested. I'm not expecting, you know, views on it, but just for anyone that's interested to use that as a guide for today's video as well. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming links. They're in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everyone. Bye for now.